So, I was just at Starbucks picking up my half-cap, no-whip almond granola latte when I noticed the most disturbing thing. The barista that handed me my drink was definitely most likely, conservative. After promptly throwing away my drink that was absolutely, probably poison, I decided to make this list to help others avoid situations like mine. Here are some warning signs that your Starbucks barista is conservative. They only wear one pride pin. Doing the bare minimum, it's like they, them doesn't even care about LGBTQ plus rights. They have fewer than 13 piercings. Also, be on the lookout for natural colored hair. It's a dead giveaway. They don't roll around on the ground and scream maniacally like a banshee at the mere mention of Trump's name, like a normal person would. Okay, trigger warning. This next one is really scary. They use the conservative code words, Merry Christmas. It's like a modern day secret Nazi handshake. Ugh. They give a knowing nod to anyone who orders black coffee, the official drink of red-pilled cis males. I didn't even know Starbucks sold black coffee. They spell names correctly. This is a sure sign of a right-wing homeschool education, but just because they can spell does not mean that they're not a fascist. They won't let transients defecate on the restroom walls. Where do they want them to go? The toilet? This is oppression. If your barista exhibits any of these signs, take the drink and throw it directly into their ugly Ronald Reagan-loving face. And then get them fired, of course. And remember, love is love.
Hey, those are my heart hands. Now, from Times Square, it's That Kevin Show.
Somewhere in the bowels of the city that never sleeps.
Kevin McCullough, radio host with Salem Media.
Is a man also not sleeping.
Syndicated radio talk show host Kevin McCullough.
And that guy would like a word with you.
Many of you know him from as Nostradamus.
Of course that Kevin show is going to be great. The only thing that could be greater, of course, would be That Donald Show. But we don't have that, so we have That Kevin Show.
Featuring the music of Dick Tunney and the Dream in Color Orchestra. And tonight, he's building a bulletproof beachhead for free speech. Devin Nunes. She's proved that someone named Junior outkicked his coverage. Kimberly Guilfoyle. Sketch comedy from the Babylon Bee. And she's back with her first single in quite some time. The Queen, Celine Dion, in the spotlight. And now, from Times Square, where he awaits DA Alvin Bragg to make felonious charges against him, to send him to the pokey and prevent him from running for president, here's the... Ladies and gentlemen, please ignore what the aforementioned Mr. Pipes had to say. David doesn't know what he's talking about, and I'm not awaiting charges for anything, except perhaps I don't know. I guess it is. I guess it's a point well taken. You can be charged with anything, and they can indict a ham sandwich. And in Lower Manhattan, you can evidently sentence someone to a conviction for a crime when you can't even tell me what the crime was. And that's the problem. The problem here is that you have a jury who was told illegally by a judge, you don't have to agree. You can all say he's guilty, but you don't have to specify what he's guilty of. So I guess under that kind of code, any of us could be found guilty of any number of things fairly simply. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. Now, the question will become whether or not Judge Merchan will sentence him to jail time on July 11th, because that's when they're going to get together to talk about sentencing, or if he'll actually, like a normal judge, take into consideration that the president has no criminal record, he is not a flight risk, And there is no chance, zero, that he would ever have to serve jail time if he was anybody else. Because you know that they made this up, right? You know that the charge that Trump was found guilty of, which was in some way to have fashioned a violation of campaign finance rules, but they didn't allow the man that runs the Federal Election Commission that would determine the campaign finance rules, they didn't allow him to come and give testimony. So perhaps the most expert witness that one could have in the universe over whether or not that Mr. Trump even did what these made-up criminal charge that didn't exist could possibly have been done. He wasn't even allowed to testify. So you're going to say he's guilty of campaign finance irregularities. And by the way, that's a federal statute, but this was tried in a state court. And under some weird, perverse kind of resurrection of some misdemeanor from 180 years ago, Alvin Bragg tried to say that this state law could be revived to pursue that federal charge. That's a novel legal thing. That's never been done before. Again, President Trump making history in ways that nobody else ever has. And in order to prevent him from doing so, they have to keep coming to more historical standards, or lack thereof, to get him. Because, friends, it's not about whether or not President Trump broke a law. This is not a law that anybody has ever been charged with. You've never had a state statute qualified to layer on a federal statute. This is not normal. But D.A. Bragg and his big fat check that he got from Mr. Sniffer himself, President Biden, his big fat payday when he's promised a position in the Justice Department in the next Biden administration, which is going to happen next Tuesday of never, they think it's all worth it. This is how little respect they have for the actual justice system that we have in America, which is the greatest, most fair form of justice that's ever been created. But we violated our own standards in this trial, our own tremendous standards that people love about our justice system. For instance, to face the accusation of your actual charge. President Trump wasn't able to defend himself against the federal charge because the judge never said what the federal charge was. And he told the jury, you get to hunt and pick and find whatever you want to, as long as you find him guilty. You can find him guilty of anything. Just say he's guilty. You don't even have to agree. And he knows that there's not enough time for this to work its way through the appellate courts before the election. And now he has to decide, is he going to send him to jail or not, which will be a novel thing. Because if he does send him to jail and we have Secret Service in jail with the president, that will be something we've never seen before. And he'll be campaigning for president from prison. How's that work? This is so much election interference. This is so much what third world communist Soviet countries did. It's not even funny. And the real sad part about all of this is that it may open up a whole new standard by which both parties decide to now criminalize and go after their opponents from the previous administration. There is a trial coming up that's not Trump related. It is a Biden trial, and very soon the president's son may be looking at serious jail time. But he actually broke a law. He was a drug addict, and he bought a gun, possessed a gun, used a gun. You're not allowed to do that when you're a drug addict, and this is an actual charge, a very serious charge. Of course, one that his papa can just get him out of jail free because he's the president. Friends, it's a sad, sad reality that America has fallen to this. But you know what? A brand new poll just came out, and the president is now in New York State, where he lost by 22%. President Trump lost by 22%. He's now only down 7, and with the margin of error, that's only 3.5 points. In New York State, think there's not consequences to your actions? I would be very hesitant, Judge Merchan, to send President Trump to prison, unless you really do want him to win like all 50 states. I mean, it's starting to move in that direction. I'm Kevin McCullough. Devin Nunes joins me next. We've got a huge show. Don't go anywhere.
From New York, it's That Kevin Show.
See, I knew it.
Come on, Kev. What's a few classified documents between friends?
I told you all the time. I knew it. I knew he had some too.
Here he is. That Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to Times Square. It's Kevin McCullough and That Kevin Show. So glad to have you with us on the BizTV network, the Salem News Channel, 300 radio stations, and every streaming audio and video device you can come up with on planet Earth. We're everywhere, and we're watching. Last week, I wasn't everywhere, but I did get to go to West Palm Beach, Florida, at the invite of my next guest to learn a little bit more about free speech and understand exactly the battle that we are in to protect that vital First Amendment privilege. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome for the first time to That Kevin Show, former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Devin Nunes. Hello, Chairman.
Great to be with you. And I hope someday that you're going to be streaming on True Social's new streaming product that we're building right now.
I was wondering how long it was going to take for you to get to that. And sure enough, within seconds, we are already there.
Well, I had to take advantage of it. You know, I'm coming on your show. I want to be able to watch myself and you on True Social. You know, not on all these other woke networks and channels, you know. I
appreciate that. Well, sadly, none of the woke places will take any of my content. So
that's probably true.
We look forward to, and we have a small presence on Truth. We're growing and we're trying to do better. But Chairman, there may be a lot of people that, like me, when they heard the news that you were leaving Congress at really kind of an apex moment, you were the chair of the House Intelligence Committee, powerful position to be in as you serve the American people, and you walked away from it to go take on a social media company. I think a lot of people kind of scratched their head and went, why? You told us a little bit about it at the conference last week, but relay the story.
Well, look, we could go on for an hour and talk about it, but the Cliff Note version really is this, that when I was chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, I was one of the first people to be shadow banned, which means by the social media companies, which basically means that people can't find my posts. So as we were dealing with the Russia hoax and the Ukraine impeachment hoax and all the hoaxes that were around, how a lot of people are familiar with me, at first we could get around the fake news by just putting out a little video or putting out the real truth onto Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at the time. Well, all of a sudden we noticed that my views just dropped and dropped and dropped, and then we found out, well, hell, nobody could even find me. So clearly, we now know, in retrospect, that the Democrats were tied at the hip with these companies, and that essentially they had created a propaganda machine by which, if you couldn't go to the fake news and get your story out, and you couldn't go to social media, you were essentially stuck. So after, I think, one of the horrendous things that ever happened, I was one of the first guys to go on Parler, which was an early Twitter alternative. I was the first guy to actually go onto Rumble, which is a YouTube alternative. When all of that happened, I started to grow and grow and grow. And this is in 2021. And I said, wow, what a strange coincidence. I'm getting hundreds of thousands of followers in a short amount of time, when I was like stuck at 100,000 on Instagram, stuck at 1.4 on Twitter, stuck at, I can't remember what I had on Facebook, but I just didn't grow. But not only was I not growing on those platforms, people were then not able even to see what I was posting.
Right.
So, just fast forward, what happened is that Parler, after the 2020 election, early 2021, when Donald Trump gets kicked off of every platform that's out there, a lot of people assumed that he was going to make the move like I had done the year before to Parler. And then lo and behold, what I think is one of the worst things that's happened through all this, it doesn't get the fanfare, but you had some 30 companies in the United States of America that said, you know what, Parler, you may have $1 billion valuation. You may have, I don't know what they had at the time, 4 or 5 million users. Guess what? We're not going to do business with you, and we don't really give a damn. And overnight, Kevin, Parler went poof. It was gone. Yeah. It was gone from the earth because all these companies, data from everything you can imagine, cloud provider, et cetera, they refused to do business with Parler. So I went around in 2021 as I was likely going to be the next chairman of the House the House Ways and Means Committee. I had been at the House Intelligence Committee, but I went around saying, look, we're in a war, a propaganda war. We don't even have basic communications. Like there's no way for me as one of the top Republicans to get any message out. I mean, I had a few places I'd have to, what I called it was being in the internet ghetto. So a lot of people would just go talk to themselves in a ghetto, but trying to break through to the population of the United States was almost impossible. What's my proof of that? How do you still have today, after anybody that's paid any attention at all, and if you're even slightly, you can be center left as long as you're neutral, the Russia hoax was a hoax. You know that Donald Trump was not in Moscow. You know that the Republicans, I wasn't over running around in Ukraine and Moscow and all these crazy stories that happened. But yet when you look, poll after poll after poll, still to this day, you have roughly half of America still thinks that Donald Trump and Republicans had something to do with Russia at the time. And you still have Hillary Clinton, who paid for it, who conjured up the whole thing, working with the FBI, working with the DOJ. They still stick to that story. So my point is that you asked me why I left, because I sat there beating my head against the wall, proved that the Russia hoax was probably at the time, I know there's a lot of hoaxes now, but one of the biggest political scandals in recent memory. And when I say that, like the last 50 years, I think you have to go back to Watergate to get something more ridiculous than this. And this is where we essentially are at today. We're at a point in this country that, and I'm talking back in 2021, that me as a high-ranking Republican in the House, I just thought, you know what? If we can't even get basic communications just for ourselves, just for me to be able to talk to you. I mean, remember, that wasn't even possible, right? Because if I was posting, you were following me, you weren't able to see me. So Donald Trump called me, asked if I would do this, and I did it. So in 2022, I left. And essentially, I'd like to say, Kevin, they told us how to code, so we learned. They told us to go build our own, so we did. And so we don't have the problem that Parler had because we are totally self-contained. Yeah. So the rest is history. Now about, 45 days ago, we finally went public. Whole nother scandal, by the way, that we were stopped from going public for 2 years. If you're truly going to compete with Amazon Web Services and Netflix and everybody else, even if you're Donald Trump, we have to have access to the capital markets. We have to have access to the people that you're talking to right now, people that want to be able to invest in their voice, invest in their future. We can't go build a multi-billion-dollar company without access to the capital markets. So we did that. That took 2 years. I mean, well, I know you have a family-friendly show, so I won't say it. But anyway, that's essentially what, why I left. I mean, like I said, we could talk about it for a long time, but that's the gist of it. But
I think, Chairman, you described the problem explicitly on point. And the only reason that I know is because I too was shadow banned. And in fact, on January 6th, minutes after they pulled Donald Trump off of Twitter, they pulled me off of Twitter. And I feel it probably had something to do with the fact that I had 2 or 3 of my columns from townhall.com reposted by President Trump. That day, I was questioning some of the things that I was seeing on television. And there was obviously this great level of arrogance from the powers that had control of these sites that said, we're going to decide exactly who gets to say what and when. We're speaking with Devin Nunes, who is running Truth Social. It's actually DJT now, as it's traded on the markets. And we're going to come right back from this commercial break because what's next in all of this journey for the fighting for the First Amendment will continue right after.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough. Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to Times Square. Kevin McCullough, thrilled to have you with us on That Kevin Show. Yet to come still tonight. Of course, it's the New Music Spotlight, and we've got a little bit more sketch comedy for you. We're going to try to get you through the weekend as worry-free as possible, even in the days in which we live. But Devin Nunes is my guest, former congressman, former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. And Congressman, when you left Congress, I was sad because you and Jim Jordan and a handful of other guys were the guys fighting for the truth, and now you're fighting again for the truth to be told. And Truth Social is a company that has now gone public. What is the outlook for what you're doing? What's next on the horizon? You alluded to a streaming capacity coming soon. What are you excited about?
So really what we had to first do, what Truth Social is it's a beachhead against big tech. It's a beachhead for free speech. So we just looked at what's the best of Instagram, the best of Facebook, the best of Twitter, the best of TikTok. How do you put it into one app that's indestructible, so not relying on any of the big woke companies on the outside? Right. That was first and foremost. Two, we wanted to make it easy to use, right? So we don't need all the bells and whistles. We just want to do what most of the other apps do, but do it well and do it efficiently and make sure that we don't go down when there's spikes in traffic. That was kind of first and foremost, is give people access to the internet, give them their voice back. So then we went public. That took a long time. We talked a little bit about before. I mean, the Biden administration, SEC, won't get into all that, but it took.
They didn't roll out the red carpet for you, Chairman?
No, it took, I think, one of these days I'm going to do the research, but I think it was the longest deal in history for what's called a SPAC. So I think it's the longest deal in history. I can't imagine there was one that took longer than ours because it was like 2.5 years from start to finish. So we have access to the capital markets. We now have people that have invested in their voice and in their freedom. And what we are setting out to do is build the entire ecosystem. So we have the beachhead. We have the social media aspect. Well, the next thing that we think is really important and what we've been working on for over a year is streaming technology. So we're looking to take the technologies that exist within a few companies that people have probably heard of, Pluto TV, Sling, Netflix. We're taking those and combining them into one linear TV CDN. Now that's a lot of letters there, but the bottom line, what does it mean? It means we're going to deliver a very easy to use, indestructible streaming system for Salem, for you, for all the other channels that are out there that the people know about that get banned in other places. Also, I think there's a lot of religious channels out there that don't have a home. They produce a lot of great content. There's a lot of documentaries and films that don't get to see the light of day. So we're building a product that will, number one, work within Truth Social on your phone. But if you're not into social media and you don't want to use Truth Social, you'll actually be able to watch it, get a separate app on your tablet or devices or your television at home. So it'll be right next to, and I'm sure, Kevin, you probably have Disney Plus and Netflix right on your phone, your home TV. And like many Americans do, Amazon Prime. Well, you'll also have our Truth Social streaming product right there also. And that will be a home for the people that have been banned or been shadow banned. So you can come out of the ghetto for these content creators that, they may be on a Comcast or a Spectrum, but they're probably like channel 4000. And if you try to actually use the search function to find them, you're not going to find them. Yeah. We're going to give a home to all of those people and all those documentaries. After that, we're looking at building out the entire ecosystem, which would probably involve, acquiring different technology, maybe acquiring different companies, but we want to own that whole entire ecosystem so that people will not be canceled. So some people call it the parallel economy. Some people call it the patriot economy, that basically giving half of America a place to do their business. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not open to everyone, because in fact, Truth Social, we have Joe Biden is on the platform. We also have the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, is on the platform. So we are open to everyone, but we're there mainly for the people that are getting canceled across the, across the.
I was about to say, what you've really done is built the bulletproof beachhead for free speech. And the only people that are still running for president are on Truth Social. This was pointed out at the conference last week, but some of the contestants against President Trump chose not to be on Truth Social, and it didn't necessarily work out well for them. Chairman, I think that the issue of protecting speech is so vital that I would love to invite you to come back on a quasi-regular basis and just give us a report, give us an update on the state of free speech in our country. And I believe that it is one of the most important things that we can do. And I just see you as a hero who left Congress, but is still fighting in some ways much harder than you were when you were there for what is good and what we need. And we're really grateful for your time tonight.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough. From New York, That Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to Times Square. Kevin McCullough, very glad to have you with us and very grateful. And I need to take just a minute to talk to my radio audience in addition to my television audience to kind of bring you up to speed on something that happened about a month ago. My radio syndicator went out of business and didn't really leave my staff or myself with a lot of options in terms of having distribution or notifying affiliates or any number of other courtesies that would normally have been kind of standard for the industry. And as a result, I fear that there are some of you that we missed over the last couple of weeks. And I just wanted to say welcome back tonight. I know that there are many of the stations that had not been able to get a fresh show from us. Some of you had heard reruns, etc. But tonight we are thrilled to be back on the overwhelming majority of our stations without any interruption, and thankful. If you're on in 300 places and suddenly you're just not there, it's a huge change. And so I want to say thank you to the radio stations. We've been calling diligently, personally, over the last couple of weeks. And thank you for all of the program directors and all the general managers that helped get us back on the air tonight. And we're so grateful. And of course, I'm always grateful for my partnership with the great people at BizTV, Ed and his team there, and Salem News Channel, Kerry and his team doing a great job there. And I want to say thank you as well to Salem Radio because they are a new home for our satellite distribution for stations across the country. And it's been a big journey to get switched over from the old network to Salem, and I'm really grateful. Now my radio syndication and my television all are at home where my day job is. We're all Salem all the time, and that just feels a lot more unifying, if you will, across the board. But having said that, I do have some concern because just before this all happened, we were just trucking along at a great pace to see a record number of human slaves freed this year from Sudan. And in the last couple of weeks, not being on the air and so forth, we haven't seen people's gifts come in that normally would have. And so while we have helped, I think it's in excess of 64 women be liberated this year, our goal just for the spring is 108. And so we are behind pacing to finish where we want to be at the first half of the year so that we can hit our goal for the second half of the year without any problem. So I'm asking you, I'm begging you, I'm pleading with you, if you have given any thought to helping us liberate a human slave from the perilous conditions that they find themselves in northern Sudan, where they are literally the chattel property of someone else. They're not their own person. They're not allowed to be their own person. They're not allowed to think for themselves or have any autonomy of their own. They are abused by the slave masters. They are ritualistically raped, beaten, sworn at, called names,
just horrific treatment, then we need your help tonight. 888-342-1010 is the number, 888-342-1010. And when you call that number, the goal there is to give a $250 gift. Now, maybe you can give the whole thing tonight. Maybe you need to break it up into 2 payments of $125 or 5 payments of $50 each. But in whichever cause or circumstance that you can do that, if you're able to give a gift of $250, you're literally going to take a woman who has been subjected to sexual torment, behavioral torment, torture, in how she's spoken to, torture in how she's treated, and you're going to set her free and help her get back home to her family. That's why we have the URL bringherhome.org. Bringherhome.org is where you can go and give your gift online. But when you give that gift online, what that's going to go to is helping that slave, that former slave, come out of slavery and be able to start a brand new life. She will have enough food to feed her for the first year. She'll have enough seed to plant for the following year's worth of food. She's going to have a number of utensils to help her with gardening and cooking and fishing. She's going to have some tarps and blankets and other things to protect her from the weather. She's going to have a church and a community of people around her that are going to help her reassimilate to maybe the area where she was kidnapped when she was a young girl. And kind of the fun thing of the entire opportunity is that she's going to be given a little goat that is going to give her not only food, milk and cheese and stuff like that, but that goat will grow into a female goat and be able to birth other goats. And she is going to be able to, at the end of the day, have a micro enterprise business that will help support she and her children to be able to survive and thrive in a very tough part of the world. So your $250 gives her all of that. Gives her the goat, gives her the utensils, the tarps, the blankets, the food, the seed, a Bible in her language. All of this is given to her for that one-time gift of $250. So when we have names on the list, like we have, for slaves that we know that we're going to be able to free, we've already entered into negotiation with many of the slave masters. Once they are free, your $250 gift will supply everything she needs to basically get a brand new start in life. And considering that she's never owned anything other than maybe the clothes on her back, this will be a tremendous gift for her, and it will be life-changing in how it's felt. 888-342-1010 is the number. Now, our goal for the first half of this year is 104 slaves. 208 is what we're trying to accomplish for the full year, but 104. And if we're at 66 slaves or 68 slaves as of tonight, then that tells you how many we have to go. Let's see, that's 32 and 4 is 36, something like that. So if you're able to take one of those slaves tonight and say, I'm going to make sure that you have what you need, it's going to be a tremendous blessing. And we want to make sure. And the reason it's important to do it quickly is because we have another liberation opportunity just around the corner. Literally just days from now, we're going to be able to bring some of these slaves home, and we want to be able to have their bag of hope and their new life ready for them. Will you call 888-342-1010, 888-342-1010, or if you want to read more about it, go online to bringherhome.org, bringherhome.org.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough. Serving it up with a no-drink minimum. It's That Kevin Show.
Earlier this year, when she made an appearance at the Grammys, she took everyone's breath away because no one knew if Celine Dion would be back. But friends, this week, her first new single in years. Here is Celine Dion. Of her documentary coming to Amazon Prime later this very month. It is Queen Celine herself, and I don't know, her voice sounding pretty good. Doesn't seem like she's skipped a beat. Anyway, Kevin McCullough, she'll be back with us in the next hour with another song to round out the night. We hope that you'll join us. We've also got a mugging of New York City size proportion coming your way. If you have not yet registered, please do so. KMC, That thatkevinshow@gmail.com. Thatkevinshow@gmail.com to register to win a mug tonight or any of the weekends left in 2024. I'm Kevin McCullough. Hour 2 next.
Hey, get that soundtrack. Search hashtag New Music Spotlight on Spotify or Apple Music.
I don't like that game. It's not inclusive.
Yeah, it only has 2 genders.
Not anymore! Yay!
Introducing the all-new Guess Who, now with all 437 genders.
Is your person by gender?
Mom, you cannot determine someone's gender based on their appearance. That's disrespectful and offensive.
Is your person a demi-boy?
Identifying someone solely based on their gender is reductive and offensive.
Does your person look like someone who is trying to adopt the appearance of a traditional female?
Privileging traditional gender stereotypes is patriarchal and offensive.
437 gender Guess Who. Great for the whole family. Family may include, but is not limited to, single-parent families, blended families, chosen families, LGBTQIA+ families, and should not be defined solely based on blood relations or legal ties, and can be found in friendships, communities, and other relationships where everyone feels valued and respected for who they are.
This game has too many pieces.
It's taking forever.
Do you want this game to be easy to play? Or do you want it to be inclusive?
Inclusive.
437 gender Guess Who. Hours of endless fun. Fun is not meant to suggest an enjoyable or pleasurable experience, but rather one that elicits a feeling of smug self-satisfaction about being on the right side of history and a sense of superiority over others who are not as enlightened or evolved. 437 gender Guess Who can be found at your local Target or BDSM shop. Batteries not included, except as an additional gender.
Honey Nut Cheerios.
Is it okay to stop playing?
I don't know. I think it might be offensive.
Oh, great. I just got an alert from the game company. They discovered 7 more genders. And they're sending the new pieces over tonight.
Order now. And now it's time for more of That Kevin Show.
Somewhere in the bowels of the city that never sleeps
Kevin McCullough, radio host with Salem Media,
is a man also not sleeping.
Syndicated radio talk show host Kevin McCullough.
And that guy would like a word with you.
Many of you know him from as Nostradamus.
Of course, That Kevin Show is going to be great. The only thing that could be greater, of course, would be That Donald Show. But we don't have that, so we have That Kevin Show.
Featuring the music of Dick Tunney and the Dream in Color Orchestra. Still to come, sketch comedy from the Babylon Bee Comedy Troupe. She's a tough-as-nails former prosecutor turned children's author, Kimberly Guilfoyle. A mugging of New York City-sized proportion. And Celine Dion back in the spotlight. And now, from Times Square, where the ladies always ask him to produce a pay stub just to prove his income, here's the... What, Dave? What? Yeah? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happily married, and
You are?
my bride has never asked me for a pay stub.
Are you sure?
She has on occasion asked for proof of employment, but that's a different story
that makes
altogether.
sense.
Let's get
Told
straight
ya.
to the news. For Assignment Desk Weekend, I'm Kevin McCullough. Speculation abounds as all eyes in the ongoing Trump court saga move to sentencing and the stage to follow, with one former advisor to President Bill Clinton predicting the judge in the case will sentence the former President Trump to actual jail time. Reminder, this would be for a crime that no one's ever been charged with before. Judge Merchan seemed cryptically open to the idea, and Assignment Desk Weekend says cryptically because that's where Judge Merchan may end up, in a crypt, if he doesn't follow the advice of the former advisor to Bill Clinton. We cannot reveal to you the name of the advisor. We're not allowed, but it does rhyme with the word Hillary. The interwebs have been brutal on President Biden following the kangaroo conviction of his political rival. When asked if he was concerned about the Trump verdict and long-term consequence to the justice system, the hologram that was projecting his image into the West Wing paused and grinned bizarrely for roughly 10 seconds into the camera. The image evoked outrage from Trump's normal supporters on social media. Sage Steele, a college-educated black woman and broadcaster, called Biden's response eerie and evil. Simon Desk Weekend observes that good old Scranton Joe is obviously still at the top of his good old game. Among some of his most proud accomplishments, Team Biden can now take credit for the president's ability to produce the most expensive orange juice in the history of Earth. The new price for a 12-ounce concentrate frozen package is $4.25. When asked about it, President Biden, or his hologram, had a simple 10-second smile as his response. And finally, the Institutes of Health, the World Health Organization, retired Dr. Fauci, and other trusted medical authorities may now soon have to change their guidance on peanuts and their impact on children. According to a new study, they are safer than vaccines for your little ones. And unlike the jabs, they may actually prevent allergies from infancy all the way through the teen years. But our national leaders would never lie to us, right? For Assignment Desk Weekend, I'm Kevin McCullough.
Thank you all for meeting with me. You're all doing some wonderful work destroying the world, but I think it's probably time for us to reevaluate.
Yeah, sorry for the interruption, but I think we're in the wrong meeting. We're not here to destroy the world. We're here to save it. You see, we are some of the leading leaders of liberal causes, and I'm with the Human Rights Campaign, who focus on LGBTQ+ and trans rights. You see, I have an equal sign to let you know that I'm a good person.
Oh, excuse me, women's reproductive rights.
Climate.
Free Palestine. Open borders.
I misspoke before. You guys are not destroying the world, okay? You are saving the world.
Whoa, what's up with those scare quotes?
Pretty sure I didn't use scare quotes when I said saving the world. The important thing to keep in mind is that there's a big election coming up, and you and I, we're all on the same page, okay? So if we want Biden to win, he needs to win in order for us to save the world. If we want Biden to win, you folks, how can I say this? You might need to tone it down. Just
tone down what?
Oh, that's a good question. You're women's reproductive rights, right? Okay. Excellent branding, by the way. It's much easier on the ears than baby murder. So kudos to you on that one. But opposing any restrictions all the way through to the 9th month, I mean, you see how you're kind of tipping your hand, right? Makes people think, wait, maybe they actually want to kill babies. And we do, obviously.
No, we don't.
Oh.
No, we don't.
We don't. Right. We don't. But you see how it can kind of look that way. So that's all I'm saying. You know, let's tone it down. And you, immigration, clearly we don't want a completely open border that undermines any sense of national sovereignty, driving down wages for the working class and overtaxing the welfare state. So let's go a bit easy there too. I mean, why not something like this? Why not something like diversity is our... Are
you trying to say diversity is our strength?
Yes! How do you say that without laughing? Oh my gosh. I can't even get through it. This is head and moi. My sides. My goodness. Okay, what about you? Pro-Palestine. You are, I'm going to say this. You're kind of coming across like you just want to wipe Israel off the map and kill all the Jews.
We do want to wipe Israel off the map and kill all the Jews.
Of course, yes. And that's awesome. I'm all for that. I love that. But you need to pretend like you don't want to wipe Israel off the map and kill all the Jews.
Why?
Excuse me?
I mean, we're pretty clear in our position, and most young people and everyone on college campuses, and half the Democratic Party, of course, still support us.
Yeah, it's cool now.
You may have a point there. You might be the only person in here that can be as evil as you want to be and get away with it. All right, still, let's think about tactics. Okay, do you think that occupying bridges and blocking traffic is somehow winning people over to your cause?
Yeah, and making people hate us by blocking traffic is our thing. He's stealing our thing.
You're not stealing your thing. You must die. We will kill you all.
See, this is what I'm talking about. I mean, okay, I love the homicidal thing that you got going on there. I really dig it, okay? But maybe market it just a little bit differently. Like the serial killer that everyone thinks is such a sweet guy, you know? He's got 27 bodies in the basement, but he's like, coaching Little League. That's what I want. Be that guy.
Death to America.
You know, the funny thing is, you don't even look Middle Eastern. Am I wrong, people? Am I wrong?
I'm not. I actually grew up on Long Island, but my parents sent me to college. Death to America.
Ready or not, we'll be right back. That Kevin. Now, back to that Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to Times Square. Kevin McCullough, glad to have you with us on That Kevin Show. My next guest is no stranger to my radio audience. She's been with me multiple times, but this is the first time here on the Salem News Channel, and very, very glad to welcome Kimberly Guilfoyle. Hello, lady.
Hi, Kevin. How are you? Great to be on your show.
It's good to see you last week. We got to spend some time at, well, not at Mar-a-Lago. You weren't there when we were at Mar-a-Lago, but the night before you stopped by to say hi to a bunch of folks that were concerned about freedom of speech.
Yes.
And I'm just curious, you see someone like him in the midst of trying to defend himself in front of a court in a constitutional republic like we live in, and he's not allowed to actually say anything. Kimberly, you're an educated lawyer. What's going on here?
Yeah, it really offends me as a, officer of the court and former prosecutor. This is just a complete disgrace, this Biden bragg New York trial, because that's what it is. It's politicized, and Biden is at the root of it. It is a full frontal assault on American democracy, on our freedoms, and on the Constitution. And I think America saw it was just, a show trial in the truest sense of the term. A 6-week sham show trial, kangaroo court, in the media capital of the world, New York, where literally the only realistic consequence of any kind of conviction is a talking point for the Biden campaign. And we saw earlier in the week, obviously Robert De Niro out in front of the courtroom and just having a complete meltdown, seriously infected, deranged Trump syndrome there. And, this trial, quite frankly, is just a scar on American democracy. It should have never been brought forth to begin with. It really, truly is representative of a partisan, legal witch hunt. It is orchestrated by and on behalf of the failed president, crooked Joe Biden, and his losing campaign. And to me and to so many Americans, it's just tantamount to gross election interference. They, improperly gagged the president, not allowing him to exercise his First Amendment rights, where a convicted, felon and liar like Michael Cohen was out in front of all the cameras and across all the airwaves. And it's outrageous. They are out to destroy lives, do generational harm and damage, and destroy livelihoods. And they are wasting in a very serious and significant way the resources and attention of the prosecutor and of the criminal justice system. When you see New York in complete shambles, rife with crime, Alvin Bragg should be more concerned about the serious public safety issues in New York City, but instead he's trying to bootstrap something against, President Trump just to try to keep him, off the campaign trail, to try to imprison him. This is what you do in banana republics. It is absolutely outrageous. And I think 4 years ago, you would probably say, wow, I would never see this kind of insanity, coming forward. And whether it was the Mar-a-Lago documents case from, 2 years ago, if you can believe it's been that long, and raiding the home of a former president, likely the future president of this country, and authorizing deadly and lethal force, it is alarming, and it should terrify every American out there that cares about the rule of law.
Yeah. Let me ask you to take us behind the scene, because as you mentioned, former prosecutor, you practiced quite a bit before you got well known on television. In a trial like this, you have, the chance to lay out witnesses. They really only brought one that had any merit to the claim that the president had some sort of mental on purpose reason for why he was trying to deceive. But the president has so clearly said, look, it would have been deceiving if we had marked it as construction fees or transportation fees or something else, but we put it down as legal fees. The fact that they're straining at gnats like this, Kimberly, to what degree does the judge and the prosecutor risk actual jeopardy of their own legal career? Because I think if you practice law the way this judge and this prosecutor are, I think it's malpractice. I think they're working against the actual principles of the law.
No, you're absolutely right. And remember, Alvin Bragg, to this day and for years to come, won't have even ever said what the underlying crime in all of this was. That's because there isn't one, right? So if there isn't any underlying crime, you don't even need to delve into, well, what was the specific intent here? And Todd Blanche pointed that out early in the week in his closing argument. And this is insane, because it is a constitutional right that every defendant has a right to be informed about the nature of the accusation. And then so that counsel can properly represent and discuss it and make closing arguments with the jury. And, but the problem is what we have here, Kevin, is that every defendant has that right, I guess, except for Donald Trump, right?
Well, it's not just this case, and it's not just the Judge Engoron case. You've got, we're still waiting for the Supreme Court to tell us whether or not the immunity case is going to be solved fairly quickly. And then you've got the Mar-a-Lago case and the Georgia case. And the Georgia case is plagued with all kinds of problems. And then you had Jack Smith actually admit that in the Mar-a-Lago case, they staged evidence. Like, why is that trial even still on? Well, I guess it's temporarily suspended. But why didn't the judge just rip it up and say it's done?
Well, they should have. And just like the judge in the Alvin Bragg case should have issued a directed verdict that Trump was, innocent, et cetera, because this is just ridiculous. But they're playing for the other side. This is partisan politics. It's political, persecution, and ask yourself, in terms of the Alvin Bragg, it's like, why is he trying to, a state prosecutor trying to enforce a federal campaign law over which state court has no jurisdiction and of which there is no actual evidence of a crime?
And then the judge didn't allow the actual expert on campaign finance law, the FEC, they didn't allow that testimony into the record to directly dispute this idea. She's Kimberly Guilfoyle. Which I think is actionable on appeal anyway. I mean, this is, nothing's going to hold up. The bottom line is because the judge is literally working, was working very hard with the prosecution to try to put a case against Trump and trying to give them, every advantage. And I just want to say something, and I hope the American people understand, like, this happens in business every day. Settling a nuisance claim is not a crime, and it's not a federal election crime. And they also declined to pursue it. So it is just a path for these payments. It doesn't even involve President Trump. He didn't do it. In reality, think about it, it was Michael Cohen is the one who did everything that they actually were accusing Donald Trump of doing. In your trial experience,
documents, and as Todd Blanche explained earlier in the week, the case just really stops right there, Kevin.
In your trial experience, I've never seen, but I'm not a lawyer, I've never seen a witness go so badly as Michael Cohen did. But when you can prove in court that he not only committed theft of some $60,000 from the Trump organization, and that he's a convicted liar and perjurist on other accounts, why would any jury, how does any jury begin to put credibility in what he has to tell them?
Well, it's a great point. There isn't any credibility. He is a convicted felon of crime of moral turpitude, and there are specific jury instructions on that. And also, if a witness is materially false in any portion of their testimony, you can disregard everything they say. So the whole thing falls apart.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough. From New York, That Kevin McCullough.
Back with us in Times Square, and the last time that I was with this lady in New York, we were sitting in Bobby Van's in Midtown, and your beloved Mr. Junior was sitting there next to you. We were talking about his new book, and we had a packed house of Trump supporters in the middle of New York City. It was a great night, and I still am thankful that you helped put all that together, Kimberly Guilfoyle. Thank you for being there, and thanks for being back with us. Now, you've got a brand new book out, and it's not like any book you've written before. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's super exciting. You see it here in the backdrop. It's called The Princess and Her Pup, and I'm really excited. It's available at kgpup.com and on Amazon. And I partner with the good folks, over at Brave Books, and it's really, truly a heartfelt story. It's a passion project of mine. I worked as an educator. So did my mother, working with special needs children and emotionally abused children. So I've always wanted to write a children's book. I dedicate it in memory to my mother and father, and also to my son and to my fiance, Don Jr., and my brother, Anthony. And the whole focus of the book is it teaches children, that it's easier to kind of be courageous and face your fears when you have a friend by your side. I also work with Furry Friends, a great animal organization that finds forever homes for dogs and cats that have been abused, neglected, or abandoned. And so it's really important to me that, we kind of spread and share that message, with children. And the little dog in it is named Jack. He's a real dog. He's our dog. He's a rescue dog from Furry Friends, and he's very cute. He has a little black eye patch like you see in the book, because we named him after Captain Jack Sparrow, right? He looks like a little pirate. But he's the cutest thing you've ever seen. And I love it. And so I wanted to donate and give back. So 10% of all the proceeds go to Furry Friends to help animals in need. And I've been doing little sessions with children, reading the books to them and giving them copies of it. So even if you don't have a child, you can buy and donate the books to anyone that you would like. Children face such indoctrination, in schools, and with 2 years being closed down and shut down, isolated, and not being able to get their education, not being able to be properly socialized with their peers with COVID. I wanted to do something about it, not just, complain that there wasn't, good options for children. And I'm, joined by some great authors over at Brave Books, my sister Laura, and we've got Kevin Sorbo, and it's pretty exciting, Kash Patel. So we've got a whole host of wonderful people who are, doing something about it and caring about children, Kirk Cameron as well. So I wanted to be able to do that. And like I said, it's a cute story because she has a lot of fears, and, she's scared of things, and her parents want to help her. Then they go into town one day and they see this little puppy that's abandoned and frightened by the, the adults, by the big people, by the water and the rocks and the river. And she asks her parents if she can take him in, and they say yes. And like I said, together they face their fears, and they're now able to sleep at night. He stays in the room with her. And it's a nice story about kind of giving back and, the family that you choose and taking in an animal, which I think is a sweet thing for children.
Absolutely. Well, get a little bit of Kimberly's heart as a mom, not just as a firebrand lawyer, which she's very, very good at. Kimberly, you told me when we were together last week in Florida that you have kind of a cool opportunity with the conventions coming up. You're actually setting the agenda and inviting some of the speakers and planning the whole stage play there. What will people expect from the RNC this year with Kimberly Guilfoyle's stamp on it? Yeah,
I'm really excited. Laura Trump, my sister-in-law, is co-chair of the RNC. They're doing a phenomenal job over there, Michael Wheatley. They're really focusing on making sure there's election integrity as well. And we just want to make sure that the platform at the RNC really, truly reflects the president's viewpoints, his beliefs, and really now with this whole merger and coming together of the RNC and of our campaign, it's really streamlined. It's powerful. It's something that people can really have a lot of faith and confidence in, that we are 1,000%, behind it. You'll see some incredible speakers at the convention. I'm going out a week ahead of time to, engage in meetings and everything to make sure that everything goes well. And again, like you said, in terms of the platform, you've seen some of the new news articles about it, that there's just a really clear reflection. And the American people, deserve that. They are behind President Trump. He is the nominee, and with the help and grace of God, will be the 47th president of the United States. So we want to make sure that they have that confidence, that they understand that we take this very seriously. We want to earn each and every one of their votes and their enthusiasm, and partner with the American people to bring this country roaring back in the way that she deserves, and really with putting America first.
But you've got to run and go do one of those readings. So thank you for taking some time out with us tonight.
And look at this here, okay? You can go to kgpup.com and get this Biden squeaky chew toy. And I've done an autopsy, and look, it's confirmed. There's no brain. Now,
what a way to end the discussion. Kimberly Guilfoyle.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough. Here he is from New York. That Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to Times Square. Kevin McCullough, glad to have you with us. And the time has finally arrived. Drum roll. No? Nobody? Nothing? Oh, well. Anyway, I told you earlier we're going to perform a mugging of New York City size proportion. I am sporting the black That Kevin Show mug tonight, and it does have, I don't know if you can see. You see that? That's actually hot coffee tonight because I'm just that tired. Trying to make it through. Anyway, welcome to New York. Glad to have you here. And here's how it works. Every weekend for the remainder of 2024, we're giving away one That Kevin Show mug to a very lucky recipient. But in order to qualify for the drawing, you have to send us an email with your name, your address, and your choice of mug. If you want the white one with the black logo, or the black one like I have tonight with the beautiful white logo, they are both very, very sharp, very, very fancy, and you're going to love drinking your coffee out of them. But here's the thing. If you don't register, we can't draw your name. Now, some of you may have seen us on TV and said, I'm going to do that, and you registered. Some of you have heard us on radio, and you said, I heard it, and you registered. I think tonight's winner actually watched us via a tape-delayed segment on Truth Social. Now, you had Devin Nunes in the first hour saying, I hope someday they watch you on Truth Social. Well, we figured, why not start putting the segments up on Truth Social? So on demand, Todd Chandler, you wrote in and you said, I sure hope I win one. And Todd Chandler, I have the pleasant surprise to tell you that you, in fact, have won tonight's That Kevin Show mug of choice. And again, you can have the black one with the white logo. You can get the white one with the black logo. I like the white one with the black logo only because it's also black on the interior, and you got a black handle, and then the white mug with the two-tone. It's the white and red and black. And it's really, really sharp. But all that to say that it can be yours. And we are going to give one away every weekend for the remainder of 2024. And I just think that that's something that's really important to do. I also want to bring your attention back to our need for your help with us for Christian Solidarity International and the opportunity to help get women that have been in manual labor, sexual slavery in Sudan set free.
Now, in the first hour, I mentioned some of the ways that it's going to impact their lives. What I didn't mention to you, and what I intended to, is that we've helped over 4,500 women find freedom over the last 10 to 12 years that we've been doing this. And some of you have given every single year, and you've set more than a dozen slaves free. In fact, I was talking with some of the management of CSI not that long ago, and they said, Kevin, we ran a report, and it's just amazing the number of people that you have that have liberated a slave every single year. Now, that is wonderful. But what I would really love to see tonight, and I'd love to know if this could happen, is there someone that could take a monthly challenge to set one slave free per month for the next year? Now, during COVID, my family and I started attempting to do this. And there are months, because of the way the economy works and so forth, that we've been able to do this every single month. And there's been some times when the month hasn't permitted us to be able to do it. But our goal is that every month on the calendar, we would be setting a slave free. And I'm wondering if there are tonight maybe one or two people that would take that challenge with the McCullough family for the next year. And in fact, I'd like to go one step further. If you would be willing to take on that challenge to set a slave free once every month, so 12 slaves in a 12-year period, or maybe you just want to give a gift that covers 12 slaves, that would be great too. I would like to personally thank you in a very special way. Now, it could be having dinner here in New York City. It could be meeting in a mutual location somewhere. But I would like to say thank you in a very heartfelt and personal, demonstrable way. And we can kind of leave it creative. However you would like to accomplish that, we can make that happen. But it would mean so much to me if there were one or two or five families that tonight said, you know what, Kevin, what we're doing is so important. What these women have suffered is so heinous. The sexual torture, the abuse verbally, the beatings, that in slavery, it's obscene. And if we can set them free forever, and for them to know that they never have to go back to that, that would truly be an amazing gift to be able to give. And we are 68 slaves towards our first half of the year goal of 104. Now that means before we get to the end of June, we would really like to be at 104 slaves, but that means we need at least 36 more slaves to be liberated. But that's just 36 people tonight picking up the phone and dialing 888-342-1010, 888-342-1010, and just taking one. If 36 different families or people said we're going to take one slave tonight, then we would meet that first half of the year goal. And if you wanted to take the 12-month, 12-slave challenge with us, then we would only need 3 families to match the McCullough challenge to be able to do that and to be able to assure that those slaves are going to be home and taken care of. And we've got a liberation right around the corner. And this year, one of the exciting parts is that we can now also, many instances, free the child of the slave as well. See, when these women are in slavery, they are oftentimes raped by their slave masters and they get pregnant. And rape culture and everything else in the U.S. aside, these women view those children as special gifts, even if they came through that heinous abuse. And they would like to have their children, and they would like to hold their children and know their children and see their children. But oftentimes when they are liberated, the slave master disallows the child to go. But in this last 12-month period, we've been able to get more and more of the slave children liberated as well, to be able to be reunited with the mom and to be able to be relocated to South Sudan, the Christian part of the continent. Would you help us? 888-342-1010, 888-342-1010. You can also give online at bringherhome.org. But if there were just 3 families that took the Family for Family Challenge, Slave for Slave, 12 slaves in the next 12 months, if there were 3 of you that could do that, or 36 of you that would say, you know what, I can do a slave tonight, and I'll call that number, 888-342-1010, 888-342-1010.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough. drink minimum. It's That Kevin Show.
The world was heartbroken when they heard the medical diagnosis, but friends, don't count her out. Here's Celine. From a soundtrack that she authored 3 of the new songs on just within the last year, it is Celine Dion, who many people had been quite concerned she may never, sing or tour or do anything again. Her documentary drops on Amazon Prime later this month, and she's our new music spotlight artist this week here on That Kevin Show. I'm Kevin McCullough. So glad to have had you with us tonight. Thank you, and thank you to everyone who made this episode possible. We'll see you again next week.